I didn't expect the night to end with my best friend's lips on mine. To be fair, when he first brought up the idea, I thought he was joking, or tipsy, or maybe just messing with me, the way straight guys sometimes do when they're bored and half drunk. But the look in his eyes told me otherwise. It started like any other Friday night. We were holed up in my tiny apartment, the one-bedroom shoebox I'd been renting since college, surrounded by empty pizza boxes and the hum of some dumb action movie playing in the background. Jordan had crashed at my place like he always did, sprawled across the couch with a beer in his hand, sockless feet on my coffee table like he owned the place. I'd known Jordan since sophomore year. We met during orientation and clicked right away. Him, the golden retriever with too much confidence and not enough personal boundaries, and me, the quieter guy who had long since accepted my place in the background. We were opposites in 100 ways, but somehow it worked. He was also hot. Objectively hot. The kind of hot that made people do double takes. Tall, tan, with that permanently messy brown hair, and the kind of jawline that made you question your sexuality even if you were sure of it. And he was straight. Emphasis on was, or so I thought. He took another sip of his beer, then looked at me with this weird, hesitant smile that didn't match the usual cocky energy he gave off. "So, you remember Lily?" I rolled my eyes. "Dude, you've only been talking about her for the last week." Right, he said, leaning back. "Well, I got a date with her tomorrow night. Dinner, drinks, the whole thing." "Good for you." He paused like he was working up to something. "Yeah, I don't want to mess it up." "You? Mess up a date?" I snorted. "Please, you could burp through the whole dinner and still get a second one." Jordan laughed, but there was something in his eyes that looked nervous. That wasn't like him. "I haven't really kissed anyone since Amber," he admitted after a beat. That made me raise an eyebrow. "Amber? That was, what, last year?" "Yeah." He scratched the back of his neck, avoiding my gaze. "I guess I'm just rusty or out of sync. I don't want to come off awkward, you know." I waited for the punchline, for the smirk, for him to say, "Just kidding," or "Gotcha." But it never came. "You want me to give you kissing tips?" I asked, half laughing. He shook his head. "No, I want you to help me practice." I blinked. "Come again?" "I mean, not like, seriously," he said quickly. "Just like, once. So I don't overthink it. You don't have to if you don't want to." Just thought it'd be easier than asking some random chick or showing up to Lily like a clueless idiot. I stared at him, trying to gauge how serious he was. His face was a mix of embarrassment and determination, like he already hated that he was asking but had decided to power through it. "Jordan," I said slowly, "I'm not a crash test dummy for your lips." He winced. "I know, it's stupid. Forget I asked." He turned away, clearly embarrassed. But I didn't say anything right away. Because part of me, a bigger part than I wanted to admit, didn't hate the idea. Part of me had been low-key crushing on Jordan for years, and the thought of him kissing me, even as a practice run, sent a jolt straight to my chest. He looked back at me, sheepish. "It's just one kiss, nothing weird." And I should have said no. But I didn't. I didn't answer right away. My brain was a mess of thoughts I couldn't untangle, half of them screaming that this was a bad idea, the other half practically begging for it to happen. "One kiss," I said finally, my voice lower than I meant. "Just to help you out." Jordan blinked. "Wait, seriously?" I gave a half shrug, trying to play it cool even though my heart was doing backflips. "Yeah. You clearly need the help." That made him laugh, which helped ease the tension. Sort of. But then he sat up straighter, setting his beer down on the table with this sudden, nervous energy. "Okay. So how do we do this?" I snorted. "What, like it's a math problem? You just lean in and do it." He scratched the back of his neck again. "Right, yeah, sorry. This is just weird." You're the one who asked, dude. I know. He looked at me, then let out a breath. All right, let's just do it and get it over with. I nodded, trying to steady my breathing as he shifted closer on the couch. The room suddenly felt way too small, like the walls had crept in while we weren't paying attention. The TV was still playing, some car chase scene flashing across the screen, but it might as well have been static for how little attention I was paying. Jordan looked me in the eye, then down at my lips. You good? Yeah, I lied. He moved in, slowly, like he wasn't sure I'd stay put. His hand landed lightly on my knee, and I tried not to flinch. His breath smelled like beer and mint gum, and when his face was close enough that I could feel it on my skin, I thought I might pass out. Then he kissed me. It was soft, hesitant. Not at all what I expected from someone as confident as Jordan. His lips brushed mine once, then again, a little firmer the second time. I didn't move, didn't lean in or away. I just let it happen, frozen in the moment. When he finally pulled back, he stared at me, eyebrows lifted. That bad? I opened my mouth, then closed it. My voice didn't seem to work. He laughed nervously. Shit. Sorry, I knew this was dumb. No, I said quickly. It wasn't bad. His eyes searched mine. So I didn't completely screw that up? I shook my head. No, it was fine. He leaned back, exhaling. Okay, cool, that's good. That's what I needed. But then, before I could say anything else, he looked at me again. You sure it was okay? 'Cause I didn't really, I don't know, use tongue or whatever. Should I have? I blinked. I mean, Lily might expect that, right? He continued. It's not like a pet goodnight situation. If we make out, I don't want to be weird about it. You want to try again? He hesitated, then nodded. If that's cool with you, just to make sure. I should have stopped him there. I should have said once was enough. But instead, I just sat there as he leaned in again. The second kiss was different. Slower. More deliberate. His lips parted against mine this time, and I felt his hand slide from my knee up to my thigh, light but steady. My stomach flipped. I didn't move away. Then I felt his tongue, tentative at first, like he was testing the waters, and I responded without thinking. Our mouths moved together like muscle memory, even though it was the first time. I felt heat rush through me, felt his grip tighten slightly, and the kiss deepened before either of us realized it. When we finally broke apart, breathless, the room was dead quiet except for the faint noise from the TV. Jordan was staring at me. I stared back. Dude, he said quietly, almost like he was trying to convince himself. That didn't feel like practice. We didn't move. Not at first. The air between us was thick, not just with the heat from the kiss, but with everything unspoken, everything suddenly too real. Jordan was the first to break eye contact, blinking like he'd just woken up from something. He ran a hand through his hair and leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling like it might have the answers he clearly didn't. Shit, he muttered. My throat was dry. Yeah, that was, he trailed off. Not exactly just practice? He looked at me, a little wide-eyed, like he couldn't believe I said it out loud. Yeah, that. I tried to laugh it off, but it came out shaky. Hey, you asked for a test run. Yeah, but that wasn't a test run. That was like a scene. He rubbed his face with both hands, clearly flustered, and for once, I didn't have anything smart to say. I was too busy replaying it in my head. The feel of his lips, the way his tongue moved with mine, the heat of his hand on my thigh. It didn't feel like something casual, and it definitely didn't feel like something you'd do just to prep for a date. I glanced at him. You okay? He didn't answer right away. Just sat there, jaw tight, staring ahead like he was trying to puzzle his way through his own reaction. I don't get it, he said finally. Why did that feel like that? I swallowed. Like what? He turned to look at me again, and this time, he didn't look nervous. He looked serious. Like I actually wanted it. That hit me harder than I expected. I sat up straighter. You didn't? No. I mean, he groaned, frustrated. That's the thing. I did. I just didn't think I would. Silence. I should have played it off, given him an out, told him not to worry. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't pretend like that kiss hadn't affected me when I was still shaking from it. What if it wasn't just practice? I asked quietly. Jordan's brow furrowed. What do you mean? What if that wasn't the first time you thought about it? He didn't deny it, didn't even flinch. Instead, he looked away again, and that told me everything I needed to know. After a moment, he said, I've been wondering. For a while. Like, stupid shit. What it'd be like. With you. But I didn't think it meant anything. And now? He met my eyes again. There was no smirk this time. No cocky grin. Just honesty. Now, I'm not so sure. The weight of his words hung between us. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. I don't know what to do with that, he admitted. I'm not trying to mess with you. I didn't expect to feel anything. Neither did I. He stared at me, something vulnerable in his expression. So what do we do? I hesitated, then said the only thing that felt true. Probably not kiss again. Not if you're still going on that date. He blinked. Right. Lily. Yeah. Lily. The reason this whole thing started. Jordan rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly looking guilty. I forgot about her for a second. That's probably not great. You think? He gave a weak laugh. I'm a dick. No, you're just confused. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I think I am. Neither of us said anything for a long time after that. We sat in silence, each lost in our own heads, until he stood up and stretched like he was trying to shake something off. I should probably go, he said. Clear my head. Yeah. He grabbed his hoodie and moved toward the door, then stopped, hesitating with his hand on the knob. Hey, he said over his shoulder, thanks for helping. Even if it got weird. I nodded. Anytime. He gave me a look I couldn't read, then slipped out, leaving the apartment too quiet behind him. And me? I just sat there, trying to convince myself it was just one kiss. Even though I knew it wasn't. He didn't text me that night. Or the next day. I tried not to check my phone every 10 minutes, but I failed. Pathetically. I kept wondering how his date with Lily went, if he kissed her, if he thought about me while he did. The thought made my stomach turn in the worst way. Not out of jealousy exactly, but something quieter, sadder. Like I'd been handed a glimpse of something I wanted, and then had to watch it walk out the door wearing someone else's name. By Sunday, I gave up and convinced myself it really was just a moment. A weird heat-of-the-night thing we'd both forget about eventually. He was probably back to normal, probably laughing it off. Probably already planning the second date with Lily and talking to his friends about how experimenting made him a better kisser. I was halfway through folding laundry when my phone finally buzzed. Jordan, you home? Just that. No, hey, no explanation. My heart spiked, and before I could talk myself out of it, I texted back. Yeah. Less than 15 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find him standing there in a hoodie and joggers, hair still damp like he'd just showered. He looked nervous again. Not the kind of nervous you fake, but the real kind. The kind that twists your mouth and makes you shift your weight from foot to foot. Hey, he said. Hey. We stood there for a second before I stepped aside to let him in. He walked past me slowly, dropped onto the edge of the couch like he wasn't sure if he should even be sitting. I hovered awkwardly near the counter. How was the date? He didn't answer right away, just stared down at his hands, rubbing his palms together. I didn't go. I blinked. Wait, what? He finally looked up at me. I couldn't stop thinking about what happened. I froze. I was gonna go, he said. I got ready, I drove halfway there. But I kept thinking about that kiss, about how it felt, how you felt. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my face neutral. And I kept asking myself, why the hell it meant so much, he went on. Why it wouldn't just go away. And I think I know the answer now. I took a step closer, cautiously. Yeah? Because it wasn't just a kiss, man. Not to me. I felt the air shift between us again, just like it had that night on the couch. The same tightness in my chest. The same hope I didn't want to admit I still had. I don't know what this means, he said. I'm not saying I've figured everything out, but I know what I felt. And I don't want to ignore that, just because it's messy or complicated or not what I expected. He stood, closing the distance between us in a few steps. I want to figure it out, with you. My mouth was dry. You sure? No, he admitted, but I want to be. He was so close I could smell the soap on his skin, clean and faintly citrusy. His hand hovered near mine. Not touching yet, just waiting. And this time, I reached out first. Our fingers intertwined, simple and steady, and he let out a breath like he'd been holding it since Thursday night. Then he leaned in, slower than before, like he was making sure I had every chance to back away. I didn't. The kiss was softer this time. Warmer. It wasn't a test or a game or a weird favor disguised as practice. It was just real. And when we broke apart, neither of us said anything for a moment. We didn't need to. We just stood there, our foreheads touching, the silence finally comfortable. And that's when I realized, whatever this was turning into, it wasn't going away. We didn't label it, not at first. After that kiss, Jordan stayed the night. Not in a, we messed around and fell asleep tangled in the sheets kind of way, though God knows the temptation was there, but in a quiet, unspoken way that felt heavier than anything physical. We stayed up late talking, real talking, for the first time in a while. No jokes, no dodging. He told me things I didn't know, about his confusion, his fear of ruining our friendship, the way he'd started thinking about me differently months ago but didn't want to screw up what we had. I told him the truth too, that I'd liked him longer than I'd ever planned to admit, that I'd written it off as hopeless because, well, he was straight. At least, I thought he was. We didn't reach some magical resolution by sunrise, but we understood each other a little better. And that was enough to make something shift. The next week was weird in the most careful way. Jordan started texting more, not just memes or random shit, but actual check-ins. How's your day? What are you doing tonight? Wanna hang? He came over 3 times in 5 days. Each time, we got a little closer. Still nothing physical beyond some casual touches. A hand on my shoulder, a lingering look, a brush of fingers across my back when he passed me in the kitchen. It was like we were both waiting to see what this thing would become if we didn't push it too hard. Then came Friday night. He showed up with a bottle of wine and takeout from that Thai place we both liked, acting like it was just another chill night in. We flopped onto the couch with our food, the TV on but ignored, and talked like always. Except somewhere between laughing over spring rolls and teasing each other about who was the messier eater, things changed again. Jordan looked at me, really looked at me, and I could tell he was done pretending he didn't want more. You know, he said, setting his food down, I've been thinking about that kiss again. I raised an eyebrow. The second one or the third? He grinned. The second. The one where I lost track of what was supposed to be happening. I chuckled, but my heart was racing. I want to kiss you again, he said. But not because I'm confused or need practice. I swallowed hard, the moment suddenly so quiet around us that I could hear the clock ticking in the kitchen. I want to kiss you, he continued, because I like you, and I'm tired of pretending I don't. It hit me differently this time. Like this wasn't a fluke or some passing thing, like maybe he meant it, really meant it. I leaned in first. This kiss was deeper, longer. His hands found my waist and pulled me close, and I didn't hesitate this time. I let my body press against his, let my fingers twist into his hoodie. When he broke the kiss, his breath was hot against my cheek. Still feel like a straight guy? I asked, my voice low. He laughed softly, forehead resting against mine. Honestly, I don't even know what that means anymore. We kissed again, and this time, it wasn't careful. It was hungry, Somewhere between his lips on my neck and his hands sliding under my shirt, I realized just how far we'd come from practice. Jordan wasn't fumbling anymore. He wasn't nervous. Every move he made was deliberate. The way he kissed down my jaw, the way his fingertips traced along my waist like he already knew what would make me shiver. It wasn't clumsy like someone exploring something new. It was confident, curious but certain. I let him push me back against the couch, my back meeting the cushions as he settled partially on top of me. I could feel the weight of his body, the press of his thighs between mine, and it sent a jolt straight through me. But it wasn't just the physical closeness that did it. It was the look on his face. He kept glancing down at me like he was seeing me in a whole new light. Not as his buddy, not as some safe bet he could joke with, but like he wanted me. Me, not someone like me. Not just anyone. Me. He pulled back, just slightly, breathing hard. "Is this okay?" I nodded, chest rising and falling. "Yeah, you?" He laughed under his breath. "Way more than okay." I leaned up and kissed him again, arms wrapping around his shoulders, and for a moment, everything melted away. The doubts, the questions, the what the hell is this part of it all. It didn't matter. The rest of the night blurred. Clothes came off slowly, like we were testing the limits of what felt good, what felt right. He was warm and careful and surprisingly vocal. Every time I thought we'd stop, that he'd freeze up or freak out. He didn't. If anything, he pulled me in closer. Later, tangled up in my bed, limbs loose and warm and skin still buzzing from everything we'd done, he lay on his side, facing me. "I don't know what this makes me," he said quietly, almost to himself. "I still don't." I reached over, tracing a line across his shoulder. "You don't have to know. Not tonight." He gave a tired smile. "You always say the right thing." "No, I just say what I'd want to hear." He nodded, then leaned in and kissed me again. Softer this time. Slower. We didn't talk much after that. We just stayed close. Fell asleep that way, skin to skin, breath sinking up in the dark, my hand resting on his chest where I could feel his heartbeat. It felt good. Too good. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a new question started to rise. Not what does this mean, but what happens next? The next morning was the kind where everything felt hazy and unreal. Sunlight peeking through the blinds, the apartment quiet except for the soft hum of traffic outside. For a second, I forgot Jordan was even there. Then I turned over and saw him. Still asleep, hair a mess. One arm slung across the bed, lips slightly parted. His bare shoulder peeked out from under the blanket, warm and golden in the light. He looked peaceful, comfortable, and that scared the hell out of me. Because it wasn't just a one-time thing anymore. It wasn't just an impulsive kiss or a weird experiment. He'd stayed. He'd wanted more. And now we were here, in this in-between space where everything was new and fragile and unspoken. I slipped out of bed carefully, pulling on a t-shirt and stepping into the kitchen, needing something, anything, to ground me. I started the coffee pot and leaned against the counter, staring at nothing while the machine gurgled to life. I didn't hear him come in. "You always get up this early?" I turned to see him rubbing his eyes, wearing just his boxers, hair sticking up in every direction. "Not always," I said. "Just couldn't sleep." He nodded slowly, then looked around. "Smells like coffee." "Yeah." He crossed the room and leaned on the opposite counter. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The weight of the night still hung between us, but lighter now. Not so heavy, not so uncertain. "So," he said, scratching his jaw. "That was a lot," I offered. He laughed quietly. "Yeah, that's the word." We stood in silence again, the coffee pot hissing behind me. "I don't regret it," he said finally. I looked at him. "Last night," he clarified. "Any of it. I don't want you to think I'm gonna wake up and freak out or ghost you or pretend it didn't happen. I'm not that guy. I nodded, slow. Okay. He stepped closer, closing the gap between us. His hand brushed mine. Just a touch, but it was enough to send a rush of heat through me again. I meant what I said, he added. I want to figure this out. I searched his face. You sure? Because it's not just some game to me. I know, he said, and that's why I'm here. The coffee machine beeped. Neither of us moved. I don't have all the answers, he continued, softer now. But I know how I felt when I kissed you. I know how I felt waking up next to you. That wasn't confusing. That was good, real. I exhaled, finally letting some of the tension go. Okay, I said. Then we'll figure it out, one step at a time. He smiled. That crooked, lazy Jordan smile I'd seen 1,000 times before, but now it hit different. Then he stepped even closer and kissed me again, slow and easy. And right there, in my tiny kitchen, with 2 mugs of coffee steaming behind us and sleep still in our eyes, I realized something. We weren't pretending anymore. Jordan didn't leave that morning. He ended up spending the whole day at my place, half of it on my couch watching dumb movies, the other half helping me clean out the fridge like we were already some domestic couple. It wasn't planned, it wasn't discussed. It just happened, naturally, like this was where he wanted to be, and I didn't want him to leave either. But it wasn't like we suddenly had all the answers. The next week brought its own weirdness. Looks from mutual friends when he started staying over more. Texts I could tell he hesitated before replying to, and once, I caught him flinching when someone mentioned Lily's name like he'd been caught doing something wrong. We never talked about labels. Not because we were avoiding it, but because neither of us knew what this was turning into yet. Some nights he'd sleep over and we'd stay up late in my bed, whispering about nothing. Other nights he'd go home and I'd wake up to a text that just said, "Missed you." Once, he kissed me outside a bar when he thought no one was looking. Another time, he held my hand under the table at a party, subtle and sure, like he didn't care who noticed. But the moment that really stuck with me happened one random Wednesday afternoon. We were at a grocery store of all places. Him grabbing snacks before heading to class, me tagging along just for something to do. We were walking through the frozen aisle when he suddenly stopped, turned to me and said, "Hey, can I tell you something?" "Yeah, of course. I used to be so sure of who I was," he said, like who I liked, what I wanted. "But you messed that up in the best possible way. I didn't say anything right away. Just let the words land." And when I looked at him, I could tell he meant it. Every word. No hesitation, no confusion. I stepped closer and nudged his arm. "Guess I'm a pretty good kisser then." He laughed and shoved me lightly with his shoulder, but then his hand found mine, right there in the middle of the freezer section, and he laced our fingers together. That was the first time we held hands in public, and that was when I knew. This wasn't just a phase for him. It wasn't curiosity or convenience. This was real. We didn't need to define it. We were figuring it out, awkwardly, honestly, day by day. What started as a favor turned into something I never thought I'd have. Love? Maybe not yet, but something close, something honest, something that began with one dumb question. "Can you help me practice kissing?" Yeah, he went too far, and I'm so glad he did.